Welcome back, welcome back. This is going to be the network diagram. So all I've done here is I've created a PowerPoint file. Let me delete that and show you guys how to do it again. I recommend PowerPoint because most schools will have PowerPoint, and PowerPoint will have most or all of the icons you'll need, or you could just use boxes and label and describe them properly. So to do this, I'm going to right click on any empty white space. Right click, I'm going to go to new, but before I do that, I'm going to go to show more options. You guys, if you do not have Windows 11, you don't have to worry about this part. Just click on right click and you guys will see this menu here. I'm going to go to new. I'm going to choose Microsoft PowerPoint presentation here. Click OK. I'm just going to name this for now network diagram. Press enter. Perfect. Double click on this to open it. Now, as you can see here, it has nothing in there. So I'm going to click once to add a slide. The first thing I want to do is to go to design, go over to where it says slide size, click on the arrow and choose custom slide size. Reason being, things are going to get really big because there's a lot of detail to add and I want to be able to zoom in and zoom out. So I'm going to click into where it says width. I'm going to highlight all of that, just get rid of it. And I'm going to type 60. I'm going to go down to the next one and I'm going to type 30. Then after that, I simply click OK. It's going to ask me what I want to do with this. I'm just going to click maximize. That should be fine. Now, it doesn't look any bigger to the eye, but when you zoom in, you'll have a lot more space to work with. So I'm going to highlight these two boxes, click to add title, click to add subtitle, highlight both of them. And I'm going to delete. So click on any empty blank white space away from the boxes. Click and hold and drag your mouse over it. It's going to highlight both of them. I'm going to click delete on my keyboard and that's gone. Now the main things we're going to focus on are here on the insert tab. We can go insert, we can go to shapes, or we can go to icons. So that's how I would set up my PowerPoint ready to start doing my network diagram. If you've been shown how to do a network diagram in a different software like Packet Tracer or maybe PowerPoint or whatever the case is, use that one instead. But for me, I'm going to use PowerPoint. Very easy, and most schools will have it. The first thing I think I'm going to focus on is inside of the network. So what I might do, I might build a network, show everything on screen, design the network, show everything on screen. But when I'm doing stuff, I might speed it up because I'm going to be very, very slow. And the reason I'm going to be very slow, let me explain my process. I'm going to insert my boxes or my icons or whatever I need to insert. But what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to label everything. And you guys should 100% do the same thing. Don't leave anything to the imagination. Even if, for example, I went to insert and I went to icons and I chose, let's say, laptop, right? Even if I chose something that is obviously a computer or a PC or a laptop, don't make the assumption that the examiner is just going to give you the marks because it looks like a laptop. No, I would still label this. I would insert a text box and I would label it as a laptop. Icons are going to look very nice and very pretty on your diagram. However, it's going to take you longer to use icons for a few reasons. Number one, let me just insert a shape and show you quickly. Insert, shape, and let's just do that one. This is my icon here. For me to label this, I'm going to have to go back to insert, go back to text box, draw my text box and say something like laptop, right? Whereas to label this one, to label the box or the square or the rectangle, I just double click inside of it, laptop, done. I can move on and I can copy and paste this a million times. So I can copy it and I can say maybe tablet. And I can copy and paste this one and I can say CCTV and I can keep copying and pasting and using this same shape over and over and over again. So this is one of the reasons I recommend using the shapes. First things first, I'm going to start outwards and I'm going to move in. So the first thing I'm going to put at the edge of my network, the first network I'm going to do is the restaurants network or my company's network. So let me go to insert. Let me go to shapes and let me choose, I like rounded rectangle just because it looks a bit nicer to me. So I'm going to use rounded rectangle. And the first thing I'm going to have at the edge of my network is, let's say, firewall. So this is a hardware firewall. So maybe you could put in front of it hardware firewall or network-based firewall, whichever one you think is best. I'm going to put firewall at the edge of my network. Let me zoom in. That's firewall. And after firewall, I'm going to have my router stroke modem. So again, all I'm going to do is click on this, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. and I already have my thing there done, and I can double click inside of this and label it. So I can say modem stroke router. Oh, spelled it wrong. Modem stroke router, right? So I'm not going to connect everything yet, just yet. I'm going to put all my stuff in first and then connect it afterwards. Modem or router. Now, modems and routers are typically drawn in a proper network diagram as separate things because they do slightly different things. But for simplicity, most of us know or have a single device at home, which is a modem and a router combined, and even a switch in some cases as well. The next thing I'm going to have after this is probably going to be my switch. I'm going to have maybe one or two switches, but for the purpose of this, I'm going to choose one switch. Now remember, the purpose of a switch is to connect things inside of a network, SWITCH. So I'm going to have one nice big switch in the middle, and everything else gets connected to my single switch. And now I'm going to look back. What I would do, I'm not going to do this now, but what I would do if I were you is look back on the hardware list that you created in previous sections of Activity 3. You had a list of hardware devices and you had a list of programs or software that are going to be installed on the hardware. What I would do is look back on that list, pick out all the network and IT stuff that's on that list and just put them on your diagram. I'm going to obviously have laptop. I'm going to obviously have CCTV. I'm going to obviously have I have added all the things I can remember anyway, so let me just go through and explain why in some cases. So I've said a mobile POS system, so point of sale system with a card reader attached to it. So this is those tiny ones that most restaurants now have. They walk around with it. You can put your order in there because it has connected to the internet or to the app or whatever the case is. It has a card reader at the top where you could tap your card, you can insert your card, whatever the case is, right? We have desktops as well. Now I could have drawn multiple desktops, so I could have done desktop 1, desktop 2, desktop 3. Not necessary. I think once you label it as multiple desktops or desktops, you should be fine. We have printers as well. We could have as many printers as we want. We have tablets. We could have many tablets as well. We have laptops. We have stationary POS. So this is the one that sits at maybe the front of the restaurant that doesn't actually move. We have CCTV, and I mentioned the CCTV I was going to use for mine. This is one I have in my house. It only needs an Ethernet cable or even Wi-Fi. We could use Wi-Fi as well, to be fair, for mine. I use Wi-Fi at home. Devices wireless access point. So when I say devices wireless access point, that connects stuff that the company, so maybe I should put company devices. So company devices, well, let me just stretch this one out a bit. Company devices wireless access point. So this is only for stuff that the company should use. So the CCTV, the POS, the laptops, the tablets, the printers, the desktops. We have worker wireless access point. So just to make it easier for workers, we give them their own way to access the internet, pretty secure as well. And we have guest wireless access point. So this is for when customers come in and they want to use stuff, we just give them one so that they're not connected to our secure one that they could potentially get into stuff that we have. You know what I didn't do? I didn't do file server. I didn't do backup server. So let's just say backup server. Now this could just be, a backup server could just be a hard drive connected to the switch that we can access, whichever way you decide to do it. Now I'm probably veering a lot off track from what I said I was going to do, but I just wanted to show you guys how I would start structuring my network diagram. This is how I would do it. Another thing I would do for inside my personal network, I would copy this. This one would be the normal Virgin fiber optic one. So let me copy this, and I would have another one I mentioned before. And that one would be my 5G connection. So router modem, let's say one of them is going to be fiber optic. So let's make this one fiber optic, FIBREOPTIC, fiber optic. And this one can be, what's the other one again? 4G stroke 5G. So that way we have two of them. and that one switch is going to be connected to both of them. So let's just say, for argument's sake, if one of them goes down, the switch will know automatically to jump to the other one. Both of them can be active at the same time to reduce the load on the system, but for a small company like this that doesn't really do crazy amounts, one should be more than okay. Again, I've got most of my things that I'm going to use inside my network. I'm sure I've left out a few things, but if you guys can think of stuff that you need to add to yours, your scenario is going to be different from mine. Add stuff to your scenario. The next thing I might want to do is actually the internet. So I'm going to do insert again. I'm going to do a new shape for this one. I like to use a cloud one for internet if I can find it. The speech bubble looking one, if I can find it somewhere. Yeah, let's use that one. That one's pretty all right. And in here, I'm just going to type internet. That's it. Internet. That's perfect. And for internet, I'm going to actually connect it to, let's say, there. Again, every single wire or connection that we use to the switch, for example, should be bidirectional, should be the two-way arrow, because we're never going to only send information to the switch. We're always going to get information back as well. For example, for something as weird as a printer, you would think you only send it one way. No, we send it both ways. Because if you think about it, when you're printing something on your laptops, desktops, or phones at home, your phone app or your laptop or whatever device you're using tells you whether there's a paper jam. It tells you whether the ink is low. It tells you whether the printer is not responding. And the only way it can do that is if information is being sent and received. So that's why everything connected should be bidirectional arrows. I'm going to leave that till very last, so not to waste time. So I've got the internet here, and for the internet, I'm going to connect it to cloud everything, because I love the cloud. The cloud is amazing in my opinion. So I'm going to say cloud storage. I'm going to say cloud Teams. What would that? Cloud communication, cloud comms. So when we use Teams, it's actually a cloud system created by Microsoft. So that's how we message. So I'm going to say cloud for that as well. I'm going to say cloud storage, website. I'm going to copy this again. I'm going to say cloud website server, cloud web server. I'm going to leave it as that for now. And all of these are connected to the internet directly, right? So we could just draw, again, a bidirectional arrow from internet here. Let me zoom in. A bidirectional arrow from internet here to cloud storage, a bidirectional arrow from cloud comms to internet, and a bidirectional arrow from internet to cloud web server. So that's all I would do for that for now. I might put some VPN stuff in between every connection, to be fair. They didn't mention that it needed to be super secure, but if we can make it super secure, we might as well use VPN. And again, one of the reasons we would use VPN over anything else, VPN typically tends to be a bit slower. But for a company like this, speed isn't the absolute necessary thing that must be there. Remember, they're just taking payments. That's probably the thing that's going to go across the network the most: payments, people's details. So I would argue the point that rather than being super fast, which we don't need to be because it's a restaurant, it makes more sense to be super secure. So every single connection that goes in through the firewall or across the internet, VPN it. There's no reason not to. Even if we're paying for 500 megabits per second and we only get, 100 megabits per second, still worth it, because everything is super, super secure, super encrypted. Another thing I saw in the examiner's report, actually, which I'm going to steal, is the contractors network. And the reason I'm going to do that, when you think about it, IT contractors don't need to be there to do most of their work. Unless they're like a hardware person or a network person, they need to come in and set things up initially. But then after that, they don't need to be there. There are so many IT jobs around the world now where people are working remotely. I have a laptop, and someone in Jamaica called me last week and said, "Oh, can you make me a website?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. What do you need?" And I can make it from here, and they can access everything I can access in Jamaica as well. So the reason for this part is just down to the fact that we can 100% work remotely once things have been set up. So what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to copy desktop, printers, laptops. I'm going to maybe copy tablets as well, copy all the hardware devices, put that in their network. We don't know what they have, and to be fair, we don't really care. I'm only doing this because this is most likely what an IT firm would have, stuff like this. And then after that, I'm going to say, same thing we have over here. We have a switch. Most likely, IT person is going to have a switch. I have a switch in my house. I have everything connected through my switch and then to my router. I'm going to have a switch. Then I'm also going to have modem stroke router. And because it's IT person, they're most likely going to, again, if it's a small IT company, they'll most likely just have a single switch, connects all the devices. They have a modem or a router, which is fiber optic. And what else could they have? Most likely hardware firewall, because again, they're IT. This is the IT person, the IT contractor's network. So let's just assume this person has laptops, tablets, printers, and desktops, whatever devices they have in the network, we don't really care. These devices here are wireless enabled or wireless capable devices. So the laptops, tablets, and printers. So we'll just connect that to the wireless access point. The switch down here, I would connect the wireless access point to the switch, and I would connect the desktop to the switch as well. I would also connect the switch to the modem or router, and I would use a fiber optic connection for this, just because this is an IT person like me. They're going to want fast internet. Now, I could pay for internet that's £17 a month, but I was like, hell no. I needed, in my house, I currently have like 350 megabits per second. I'm downloading games, I'm uploading videos, I'm talking to my friends online. I do a lot, so I needed a bit more. So an IT company would need the bare minimum I have as well. We have a hardware firewall again. Here I have my VPN thing, so I'm just going to copy and paste this 1,000,001 times. And again, I would put this in between all your major connections. So put one in between hardware firewall and internet, 100%. I'll put one between hardware firewall over here and the internet up here. So this hardware firewall from the IT person is going to be connected to the internet as well. And I would put one in between there. I would put one in between every single major connection to the internet. That's the main thing. It doesn't need to be inside of your network. It only needs to be outside of the network. So let me delete that one. And if anyone else needed to connect, so we could actually do one for customers as well, the customer network. So let's quickly do that one. Again, not something that's needed, but I'm going overboard just because. So I'm going to copy this, and this is going to be, let's just say, mobile phones whilst they're at the company, whilst they're at the restaurant. Mobile, they're actually going to have a 4G stroke 5G modem already connected to their own thing, and that's going to go to the internet. So let's put that one here actually. So 3 tiny separate networks. This is the customer network. Down here, I would label IT consultant network. Up here, I would label this. Oh, let me move that one. This one would be customer network. And this one would obviously be my restaurants network. So, or just say company network. Just leave it simple like that, company network. And that's pretty much it. And again, whatever you're connecting must be a bidirectional arrow. The arrow, let me show the arrow. Insert, shapes, let's do, it says connector, elbow, double arrow. I'm going to click on that one, and I'm going to draw from, let's say, let's go from hardware firewall to VPN, right? And then I'm going to do that. I'm just going to change the outline to make it a bit thicker. Let's say that. I'm going to copy that one, paste it, Control C to copy, Control V to paste. From VPN, I'm going to go to internet. I'm going to do this for every single device in my network. It needs to be connected using the arrows, and it must be bidirectional arrows. Here's my final thing. What I would add to this, I would add all the components that you use, so all the network and hardware components that are in this diagram here. And again, you most likely have this list already from the previous sections you did for activity 3. I would also add the software. For example, even though this says a backup server, this might be a server which has Windows server installed on it. It might also have a host-based firewall, so the actual firewall program on there. It might have antivirus on there, whatever you need. Now, I haven't connected everything because, again, it was going to take me way too long, but hopefully, let me zoom in. This section down here gives you an indication of what things should ideally look like. Laptops, tablets, printers are all connected to the wireless access point. The wireless access point is connected to the switch. The switch goes to the modem or the router. The desktop actually connected to the switch as well, because that's normally a wired connection. Remember, switches mainly have only wired connections. I haven't done any research, to be fair, to know if they actually have wireless connections. That's normally a wireless access point. We have the modem or router going to the hardware firewall going to the VPN. VPN goes to the internet, and from the internet you can connect to everything else. We don't care what happens to it after we get here, unless we're trying to get into something. So I have to VPN from the IT consultant to the internet, and then I also have to VPN once I get to the company stuff. So this is how I would connect everything. Pretty simple, very, very straightforward in my opinion. So let's just say now you've fully finished drawing your network, you've added your labels, you've described everything. What I would do, I would go to File, I would go to export. Let's see if it has it. I would go to change file type, and I would choose PNG. So images, file types, I would choose PNG. That gives the better quality, and I would choose save as. Now I'm going to just quickly drop mine on desktop because it's a bit easier for me. You put yours wherever you need to. The main thing, so just this one slide, the main thing is that I need to now bring that image into my Word document. So let me go to my desktop here. Here it is, network diagram. I'm going to drag, drag, drag. I'm going to go to Word, hold it while I'm dragging, then let go. That's one way you could do it. Another way you could insert this. Let's see if I can remember this. Go to insert, go to picture, click on the arrow, choose this device, and then it's just going to browse to where you actually saved it. I'm going to go to desktop, and I think I chose mine as network diagram. Here we go. Click and insert, and it's the same thing. I just showed you two different ways to do it. If you didn't want to explain things on the network diagram itself, you could do it under here. So you could mention each of these. So you could say IT consultant, IT network, explain what it is, what's inside the network, why they need it. You could do customer network, again, same thing, what the network is for, who uses it, what devices are inside, why they need those devices. And I could do company network as well, same process again and again and again. So please ensure that you have a diagram. Please ensure that you have a list of, maybe do list of components as well. So hardware, that's one. And then we have software as well, that's another one. So we have a list of hardware devices, list of software programs that are installed, and the networks that are present, as well as what they are, why they're being used. And that should be it. So good luck. Hopefully this was useful, and I hope everyone passes.